There are over 60 special programs in Texas designed specifically to help first time buyers. And I'd bet everything that your realtor has never told you about 90+% of them. And that is costing you thousands right now. Look, I'm Bradley Pounds. I'm a licensed Texas real estate broker. I'm also a licensed mortgage loan officer. I've been a real estate broker for 23 years. I've helped over 6,000 families buy and sell homes. Now, that's all to say, I'm about to reveal something to you that's going to make you question why nobody has ever told you this stuff before. Now, right now, you're probably thinking that you need perfect credit and 20% down to buy a home in Texas. But there are 60 plus programs that are sitting there waiting to help you. There are programs that cover your down payment. There are programs that buy down your interest rate so that the monthly payment is lower. There are programs that help pay for your closing costs, programs that reduce your property taxes. I'm talking about real, legitimate state and local programs that exist specifically for people like you. Now, who is this for? Listen up. If you're a first-time buyer in Texas, this is for you. If you have that combined household income, you're probably in that like 70 to 110,000 range. This is for you. We can go a little higher if we need to. Some of those programs have higher caps depending on where the area is, depending on how many people you have in the household, that sort of thing. Now, if you've been renting for years, throwing away $2,000 every single month, $2,500 every single month, you know you want to buy, but you think that you can't afford it. You think that you need more money saved up. You think that your credit needs to be higher. What if I told you that maybe that's not what is actually stopping you? And that the only thing stopping you is really that nobody's told you about these programs and how they work and actually sat you down and explained it to you. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through the actual programs that exist, who qualifies for them, how much money they provide, and why your realtor probably hasn't mentioned them. And by the end, you're going to understand which programs could work for your exact situation. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump. Why does nobody tell you about these programs? Now, here's what makes me crazy about the real estate industry. Most realtors don't tell you about these programs for three reasons. Reason number one, they honestly don't know they exist. Look, here's the truth. Real estate agents are really busy. They're chasing listings. They're running open houses. They're leasing apartments. They're doing all kinds of rando things to make money in a slow market. They don't have time to research and learn about 60 plus constantly changing programs, some government sector, some private sector, who knows? It's not even in their training. This is not something that they teach you in realtor school. I only know about all of these programs because I made it my specialty. I decided a long time ago that first-time buyers were going to be my focus, so I spent hundreds of hours researching every single grant, every tax credit, every obscure discount, and every way to sort of work an angle with a builder, all the different special programs that are available in Texas. Now, most agents, they might know about 2 or 3, maybe 5 or 6 of these programs, the basic ones that every single agent talks about, and that's it. We're talking about FHA, conventional loans, 5% down, all that stuff. Now, reason number two is that these programs do take more work. It's true. You know, some of these programs require extra paperwork. Some of them have income verification requirements. Some of them have deadlines to meet. And so we have to run around and make sure that our application is in while there's still money in the kitty, all that stuff. And most realtors, they just want quick and easy transactions. They would rather they'd rather work with a move-up buyer who has 20+% down and perfect credit than deal with some first-time buyer who needs special assistance and who needs a lot of hand-holding. Not me. I believe that first-time buyers are precious. You're nervous, you're anxious, but you're worthy of someone putting on the cape and helping you to achieve that American dream. You're not a pain in the butt. You're the whole reason that I do this work, okay? Reason number three is that they don't make more money helping you access these programs. Ooh, now I'm meddling. Now I'm meddling. Okay, here's the uncomfortable truth. Whether you use a program that saves you 15 grand on the front end or you don't use any programs at all, the realtor gets paid the same commission. The lender might even get paid less commission if you use a program that's a government or private sector program that has special bonuses for you. Some of those aren't as lucrative for them. So there's no real financial incentive for them to do the extra research and work. But here's what I believe. Your savings matter more than my convenience. If I can help you save an extra 10 to 20,000 on the front end by accessing the right programs for your situation, that's my job then. And that's what a specialist does, okay? So let's go ahead and jump into some of the big categories of first-time homebuyer programs. I'll put some things up on the screen so you guys can kind of follow along. There's so many different ways that you can get help here. I'm going to break down these 60 plus programs into categories so that this makes a little bit more sense. Our category number one are down payment assistance programs. So these programs give you actual money. Sometimes that's as a grant that you never have to pay back. Sometimes it's as a forgivable loan. Sometimes it's what's called a deferred second lien. Some examples in Texas, one is the T-Shack program. That's a Texas State Affordable Housing Corporation. The down payment assistance program from those guys can be up to 5% of the loan amount. It can come as a grant or a 3-year forgivable second lien. Now on a $300,000 house, that's all the way up to $15,000 that they will give you for your down payment. The First Texas Home Program combines down payment help with reduced interest rates. There's the USDA Indirect Guaranteed Program. This is for rural areas, but I'll tell you one hack is that rural areas, they use old maps to define what the rural areas are. And so sometimes you can use a USDA program to get a home that is in a totally suburban area that used to be farmland 10 years ago. You can get 100% financing, which means that there is a 0% down payment. There are city-specific programs. We call these block grant programs. Dallas has a program. Houston has several programs. San Antonio has one. Austin has one. All different, all designed for first-time buyers and kind of like targeting a certain type of buyer who may have trouble getting into that city. Category two involves interest rate buy downs. Now, this is where you see help coming from several different areas, including sellers and builders. These programs can reduce your interest rate, sometimes by a full percentage point or more. If you think about what that means over time, on a $300,000 mortgage loan, every quarter of a point of reduction, quarter of a percent reduction in your interest rate saves you about 40 to 50 bucks a month. A full 1% reduction is about 160 to 200 bucks a month in savings. Now, over 30 years, that all compounds. So now we're talking about 50 to 70 grand in total savings just because of that one little point that we were talking about. Now, programs can include mortgage credit certificates. This is where you get 15% federal tax credit on the mortgage interest that you pay each year. That can go up to $2,000 a year. It's like a refund that you get, but you get it in the form of a tax credit on next year's income taxes. Builder rate buy down programs, super hot right now. You have to know which ones are legit, which ones of them are kind of marketing traps. We'll cover that. There are lender specific programs. Some credit unions offer reduced rate for first time buyers, for example. Then we get into category three, which is our closing cost assistance. So these programs pay for your closing costs or at least reduce them significantly. A lot of people know that they need to bring a down payment unless they are in a zero down program, but they're oftentimes surprised that there are closing costs. Good thing is right now with the market being softer, we can oftentimes get the builder or the seller to pay for those in total, or we can get some help from a third-party program as well. Closing costs typically run 2 to 4% of your home price, just depends on whether we're buying down the interest rate or not. On a $300,000 house, that's like $6,000 to $12,000, maybe even a little bit more. These programs can cover most or all of that. There are FHA and VA programs with seller concessions. So if we structure it the right way, the seller can pay for your closing costs, even on a resale deal, not just a builder. There are sometimes grant programs that can stack, by the way. So this is where we can combine multiple benefits. So imagine this. If we were to take a down payment assistance program through one of the state entities, and then we were to stack that mortgage credit certificate tax credit thing on top of it, so you get the money on the front end, and then you get some money back every year as part of that rebate on your mortgage interest, we can sort of create a really amazing stackable program situation. There are employer programs. Don't sleep on this because a lot of people don't realize that their company actually offers a kind of down payment assistance. For example, a lot of hospitals, school districts, and some major corporations, surprisingly, offer this kind of assistance. There's also some property tax reductions. So if you look at the property tax reduction for what are called homesteaded buyers, which is where you get your, you don't necessarily have to be a first-time home buyer, but if you purchase a home and you use it as your primary residence, then you can oftentimes get a much reduced school tax bill. And that's an easy thing to do. It's one piece of paper to file in the spring. It's not a big deal. And it radically brings down your payment, oftentimes by like 120 bucks a month. Okay, category number 4, or category number 5 rather. Let's hover on the property tax exemptions for just a moment. There can be disabled veteran exemptions. There's going to be, it looks like, a new disability exemption that's not tied to being a veteran. That's looking like it's headed, going to go through as well. Those exemptions can help you to save lots and lots of money every single year on your property taxes, which really does stack up over time. Now, category 5, there are some specialized programs. So by profession, if you're a teacher, a nurse, a first responder, a military member, there are programs specifically for you. There's the Good Neighbor Next Door program, a HUD program for teachers, firefighters, law enforcement, EMTs, Homes for Texas Heroes. This is a cool one. Texas specific program for public servants. We've got our VA loans and our Veterans Land Board programs as well for our veterans. Those come with 0 down, no PMI, super cool. So it's one of those things that definitely, depending on your job, and if you have any military service in particular, or first responder, medical industry, education industry kind of service, you may have some special perks for you as well. All right, so the biggest misconceptions that keep people from accessing these programs, here's what people get wrong about them. Misconception number 1 is that I make too much money to qualify for them. Now, that's probably wrong, because most of these programs, some of them have income limits, some of them don't. But the income limits are typically a lot higher than what people expect. They're higher than they used to be. So, for example, many programs in Texas allow household incomes up to 110, all the way up to 155,000 actually dollars for a family, depending on the county that you're in. Now, if you're making 100K combined and you think you're too successful for assistance, you got to remember, you're exactly who these programs were designed for. People who work hard, who just need that extra boost to achieve home ownership. Just a little boost to get you over the fence there. Misconception number 2 is that this process is too complicated. Here's the truth. Is there some paperwork on some of the programs? Yes, there is extra paperwork. On many of them, there is no extra paperwork. But even for the ones that do require an application, it's not that complicated, especially whenever you have someone who knows the system, who's guiding you through that system. Most of the complexity comes from not knowing which programs to apply for, which documents you need, and which order to do things in. Now, with the right guidance, this process is way more straightforward. Misconception number 3 is that it's going to be like NACA. Everybody's heard of NACA, right? It's a program that has frustrated, I don't know how many tens or hundreds of thousands of people over the last, 15 or 20 years. It got really popularized after the Great Recession started in 2008. It was sort of put out there as a big solution for a lot of home buying woes. It's a solution for nothing. It takes forever, and it probably won't work. If you've heard that about NACA, they have earned that reputation. I'm sure there's some hardworking people there, but they just do not have the ability to pull it off for the number of folks who apply. NACA is not the same as these programs. I never recommend anybody go to enroll in NACA because I've seen it frustrate too many people. NACA can require 10 plus hours of classes, months of process. There's all these strict savings requirements. And from where I sit, it seems to disappoint about 90% of the applicants. I had an assistant one time who applied for NACA. She waited 3.5 years. She had to go to all of their classes. Somehow they made her do community service. Like, it was the wackadoodlest thing. And guess how many dollars she got when she went to go buy a home from them? Absolutely zero. So this is not that. These are real programs that people are using all the time. The programs that I'm talking about, you can get qualified and approved in weeks, most of them. Some of the city-specific programs that have money, that comes from the feds, some of those have longer wait times, but they're also some of the most generous incentives. And so you'll have to make a decision about whether it makes sense to plan your home buying timeline around one of those city or county programs. For these statewide programs, it might add like a week to your closing time on average. So you can still close in about a month. The approval rates are way higher because the programs are designed differently than something super restricted like NACA as well. Now, misconception number 4, if I use these programs, I'll have restrictions on my home. Some programs have requirements Like you have to live in the home for a while, not rent it out. Those requirements used to be really long, like 9 years. Most of the requirements, if I see any at all, it'll be like 2 or 3 years, which is not that big of a deal because you're not buying a house to move in 3 years anyway, are you? Now, most of these requirements, it makes sense. You're buying your first home to live in. So since you're not planning on bailing out of there in a year or two, it doesn't really affect you that much. Okay. Now, I think that there's kind of a general vague fear that with a lot of these programs, there are going to be a lot of strings that are attached, but it's just not true. It used to be, and for more programs than there are now that actually have those strings, just know now that it's a lot easier than it used to be. And it continues to get easier even in the last 6 months. Okay. Now, let's talk about the strategic program to stacking programs. This becomes really powerful. Is it possible to take advantage of like 3 to 5 strategies at one time? Yeah, it actually is. So this is what people miss, right? So you could do something like, instead of getting sucked into, hey, I can only use one type of program, you could start figuring out how you could stack several to maximize that savings. Here's a real example. This is the Thompson family. Names have been changed to protect the innocent. They were buying in Austin. They had a base home price of $320,000. The program that was sort of the main course on their plate is the T-Shack program. It's down payment assistance. It's a $15,000 grant of 5%. Now, we stacked on top of that what's called the Mortgage Credit Certificate program. That is helping to save them about $200 a month when it comes to giving them a rebate on their taxes, up to $2,000 a year. So almost $200 a month that will come as a tax credit when they go to file their taxes. Now, we layered on top of even that some builder incentives. This is a real one, a legitimate one that gave them $10,000 toward their closing costs. So down payment's knocked out. We've got a little extra room from the T-Shack grant for the rest of the closing costs. The rest of them are covered by the builder for $10,000. So actually, we're getting in for 0 down payment and 0 closing costs. It's pretty clutch. Now, also, we leveraged a homestead exemption, which will save them about $1,000 a year in their property taxes. That's a very easy fix. It's basically one piece of paper that we would need to file next spring. Now, that means that their total first full year after purchasing that home, not only did they get $25,000 in cash on the front end, plus almost $200 in monthly savings, plus $1,000 of tax savings after that homestead exemption kicked in. Over the 30 years, that the MCC credit saves them a ton of money, and having the closing costs paid and buying their interest rate down just a little bit, it ends up saving them a massive number of dollars over time on saved interest on the loan. Okay. Now, here's another example. This is the Rodriguez family. This is in DFW. So we had a base home price of $285,000. These folks had a combined income around $95,000 a year. They had what I would call average credit scores, 660, 675, not perfect, but totally workable. And can we do down payment assistance lower than 660 and 675? Yes, I see it go through all the time. As you go lower, sometimes it gets a little bit more complicated. They might want to see you have a little bit more cash in the bank, etc. But FYI, people get down payment assistance in that credit range every day of the week. Now, their stack was an FHA loan. It only required 3.5% down. The TDHCA covered their full down payment. The seller concessions, the seller paid about $8,000 of those closing costs. And then if we look at that MCC credit amortized across the year, that tax credit really does reduce their net effective housing payment. It's like getting another percent off of the interest rate, really. Now, the out-of-pocket to buy their home was about $2,500. So they went from needing to save $25,000 to having about $2,500 that they needed to save because they had down payment assistance and a lot of closing cost help, which left them paying a deposit, left them paying for an inspection and an appraisal, and they actually got a little check back at closing from some of the money that they had put down on that deposit. So FYI, there's lots of different ways to skin this. Okay, now how do you actually access the programs? What's the 90-day system to take advantage of this? Here's the process that I walk our clients through. Step 1 is you have to get your real credit scores, not the Credit Karma BS. I don't know if you know this, but when you go to Credit Karma and you get your free credit score or your credit card app, the Experian app, any of those things that are free, they're great, but they're going to give you usually one of your 3 bureaus. and they're going to give you what's called the FICO 8 or the FICO 9. That version of your credit score is what would be used to qualify you for a credit card, maybe an auto loan payment, probably just mostly credit cards. The mortgage credit scoring system is usually more aggressive. It's called the FICO 4. You hear it called the 245. It's basically a different version of the credit report. And what it's going to show you is it's going to show you a score that's probably about 25-ish points, maybe 15, depending on what day of the week, what the FICO scoring system had for breakfast that morning. It's going to be a little bit more aggressive. And so you're going to see that credit score often comes in lower, not always, on the FICO 4 version. So if a mortgage lender tells you that your credit is a 635 and you say, no, I checked it this morning and it was a 660, both of you are right. You're just looking at different versions of the credit report and probably different bureaus as well. So first thing is you got to get all 3 of your real credit scores, not from Credit Karma, not Experian app. You got to get the real ones on the FICO 4. Usually that costs money. If you want to reach out to me and figure out how to get that done for free, I can tell you how to do that. Okay. Step 2 is you're going to have your income employment verified. We document your household income, the employment history, and current debts. This helps us to match you to the right programs because different programs have different income limits and different requirements. Step 3 is program matching. So this is where we look based on your credit, income, where you want to buy, and your timeline, and we're going to match you with the 3 to 5 programs that are most likely to help your situation the most. Not all 60 programs will apply to you, but 3 to 5 of them definitely will. Step 4 is a strategic application sequence. So the order in which we do this matters. Some programs need to be applied for first. Some can be added later after you do your initial loan app. Some conflict with others. The sequence is important, and that's where having a specialist really helps you. Step 5 is a lender connection. Now, not all lenders know how to work with all programs. So I'm going to connect you with lenders. Yes, I have my mortgage loan officer license. Yes, we're going to run you through our system if you want us to. But the fact is that to take advantage of the best program for you, it's very probable that we're going to have to flip to a different lender to get the best deal. And that's 100% okay. We've got to put the boat in somewhere. We've got to figure out like where to, find out what your scores are, have your income analyzed. If we land with that first mortgage company, if they're the right answer for the lowest payment and the most assistance, that's great. Highly likely that as we kind of figure out what you need, that we would end up somewhere else. Okay, that's just how it goes. Now, step 6 is timeline management. Some programs do have deadlines. Some of them have waiting periods, and some of them have funding that runs out certain times of the year, and we got to kind of hang out and wait for the funding to get re-upped. Okay. So that's one of the things that kind of pushes us back just a little bit. The logistics is we have to, sometimes conform to those special program timelines. Now, why November is actually the perfect time to start this process, that's kind of an interesting thing to think about. Here's what nobody tells you about the timing. If you start learning about and applying for these programs right now, as we sit here in the fall, here's what happens. Timeline for Thanksgiving hosting next year, November, 2025. This is where we're going to learn here to start learning about the programs, get credit verified, start our applications. December 2025, we do our program approvals, our lender pre-approval. We might start house hunting. January, February 2026. This is where we turn up the heat a little bit, get more serious. Find the right home. It's really good to get out there while it's still cold because a lot of sellers will make more deals than what they will in the spring. March and April 2026, we're going to close. May through November 2026, you're living and getting your home ready for the holidays. And Thanksgiving 2026, you're hosting dinner at your table in the dining room. And yes, if you want to send me an invitation, I'd love to drop by. This time next year, you could be hosting Thanksgiving in your own home instead of your parents' house or your landlord's rental. But it does all start with you taking action now and not after the holidays. Not next year when we have more saved. Now that you know more, right? So here's why programs have more availability now. September and November is when many Texas programs reset their annual funding. It means that you're applying when the budgets are fresh and not depleted. This gives you better odds of approval. And the competition's lower right now. Most people wait until the spring to start house hunting, and it does mean that they're probably going to pay more because there's more competition. The builders and the sellers are feeling much more confident about their position. Right now, it's deal hunting time. Now, if you start now, you're ahead of those crowds. Less competition for programs means less competition for homes, usually a better deal. Here's what you need to understand, kind of capping it off. Thousands of families I've worked with have used these programs to get into homes that they thought were out of reach. The warehouse worker and the nurse that thought they needed to save another 30 grand, they accessed programs that covered it all. The teacher who thought her credit wasn't good enough, we found programs that accepted slightly lower scores and we got her done. She's a homeowner now. The couple who thought high interest rates were going to make it impossible, we stacked a buy down strategy with some other programs that reduced their rate significantly. Now, none of these families would have found these programs on their own. Most realtors never told them because they don't know about them. But once they knew what was available, everything changed. So here's what I want you to do next. I run a free 90-minute training webinar where I break down all the 60+ programs in great detail. I'm going to show you exactly which ones you might qualify for based on your situation, ones that we should investigate first based on what you tell me. I'll walk you through real examples and real numbers. This is not a sales pitch, it's actual education. So I do this because I believe that first-time buyers deserve to know what's actually available to them. The link to register is down in the description on this video, or you can just go to homebuyersschool.com and click on our webinar registration link. If you're serious about buying a home in the next 6 to 12 months, this is the education that you need. This is the information that changes timelines from someday to 90 days, right? You know, before you go, if you'll do me one favor, if you know someone who's renting and who wants to buy but thinks they can't afford it, do me a favor and share this video with them, because the only thing stopping them might be lack of information. And you just learned it all, yeah? Now, I know there's more to learn. Show up to the webinar, but I'd love to meet more people who are just like you, who are curious. So make sure you share this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.